How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Boy Light Hobby Time. Today I'm going to be building something that I thought was super cool from the third episode of the second season of The Mandalorian. I had a lot of fun building this. I hope you enjoy. I started off with some 040 styrene sheets. I just had a bunch of scraps left over, so I used those. Began cutting it into little shapes to build up the main body of the crane. I really enjoy working with styrene. I get mine from a local plastic supply store. They sell it in really large sheets, and it's far less expensive than if you get it at a hobby store. So the main body of this crane has two main sections to it. It has the trapezoidal box at the bottom that the legs attach to, and then it has this hexagon-shaped platform at the top. This connects to a rectangle by the 4 corners to the 8 corners, so it's fun to figure out the geometry of this. I didn't have anything to go off of but a still frame from I just paused it and looked at it. And given the short amount of time that I'm doing this in, I think it turned out pretty good. Once the two parts of the main body were glued together, it was time to start adding some details. I downloaded some AT-AT leg parts from Thingiverse. I'll link those below. The rest of these things I designed on my iPad. I used a thinner gauge of styrene to cut out the frames for the windows, and I glued these to the side that I wanted to be the front. A few years ago, I ordered some watch parts from Ukraine. I found this gear, which I thought would be perfect thing to go on top of this antenna. I had a plan for the layout for the top of this thing. After I put it in place, I didn't really like it, so I began rearranging to see if I could find something I liked better. I did intentionally print the winch and the crane arm, and I was really happy with how those turned out. And in the end, I found a layout that I liked and a spot for almost everything. I used the same model of the Razor Crest that I used in last week's video. I'll link that below. I began building the landing pad. After that, I primed the models. I'm going to refer to this as the AT Crane T. I think that's a pretty fun name for it. If you have a better name suggestion, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Or maybe you know the actual name for this. If that's the case, please don't leave it in the comments. I like AT Crane T. Then cut out some styrene pieces in the shape of the base. This will be the mold that I will pour the resin into. After that, it was time to paint. I used the airbrush and gave all 3 of these models a base coat of gray. After the gray was on, I started adding all the other details, including a green color. This thing has accumulated over years of being used in the ocean, and some chipping and weathering. While those were drying, I hot glued the styrene mold to the base. Made sure to have a nice even seal on the bottom to keep the resin from leaking out. I then glued the AT crane tee in place, and I mixed up my resin. I mixed in some black and some green to give the bottom layer of resin a nice dirty color. Poured it in and made sure it was evenly distributed before popping all the bubbles with a creme brulee torch. I'd say it is incredibly satisfying to watch all those bubbles pop. Wow. I added a platform for the landing pad to sit on and put the Razor Crest in a harness. I made this with some styrene and string. After 12 hours, I added the second coat of epoxy. This time the color was a little lighter. After that, I added the third and final layer, which was just slightly lighter than the one before. After that, I added the Razor Crest, harness and all. I glued it in place. I also glued the strings to give them a little bit more rigidity. When the third layer was dry, I added some Mod Podge to the top, and I used an airbrush to move it around to make it look like waves. After that was dry, I painted the crests of all the tallest waves white and began peeling off the styrene. It was a lot more difficult to get off than I thought it was going to be, but after cutting my finger a little bit and trying pretty hard, I got it cleaned up and I called it good. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed making it. Hope you all have a great week, and I will see you next time.